Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Super Feeler podcast. My name is Lori, and I'm really excited today to have another installment of our Families mini series where we feature family stories around BPD, emotion regulation, all that jazz. And today I have Bella and Cheryl. So, Cheryl, I met you first, I think. We met at a walk, at the Sashbear walk that comes up in May every year. And you said, "Oh, my kid has BPD." And then it turns out Bella and I had like way more in common than we anticipated, so then it turned into a whole thing. So, anyways, long story short, so happy to have you both here. Bella, I would love to hear a little bit about just who you are and how this whole BPD thing came into your life.
So my name is Bella. I am 31 and I live in Ontario. Currently actually work in youth mental health, and BPD sort of came into my life, I want to say about 6 or 7 years ago, kind of formally with a diagnosis. Far before that, I had, dealing with depression and anxiety, as many of us do, but yeah, during like a really difficult period in my life, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder with borderline traits. And I would say that, like, now I would not be diagnosed with BPD, but definitely have a lot of emotional dysregulation. That's kind of a consistent theme in my life still. But happy to be here and happy to be with my mom as well, because she was a big part in my kind of getting better journey.
Yeah, I this having you two together is so awesome because I've only ever spoken to you independently, which is so funny. Bella, for those who are listening, can you describe what major depressive disorder feels like? Because that is very different than what the emotion dysregulation of BPD feels like.
Sure. So during that period of my life, I was off work and not much was kind of happening in my life and activity wise, I would say. But like internally, there was a lot happening. So continuous suicide ideation, there was self harm, there was many visits to the hospital or being picked up by police as well. There was kind of internally always being like very critical of myself, and everything felt like never ending. I also suffered from insomnia for about a year and basically didn't sleep for about a year, I want to say,
Wow.
which comes with a whole bucket of of issues, and like headaches and pain as like physical kind of pain as well. So those are some of the things I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot that you don't remember, which is maybe for the best, to be
Yes.
honest.
For sure.
Totally. And then Cheryl, as Bella's mom, how do you support them? What does BPD look like in your life?
They're doing really well now, and I think I would describe our relationship as kind of mutual support
Mm,
rather than me supporting them. I'm very proud of what they've done. I I remember, I think, more than they do, so that's always with me,
yeah.
uh, and never really goes away, I think. I mean, I was looking at some of my notes from back then because Bella just described how, they had insomnia, and I saw a lot of that. And I didn't have insomnia, but I certainly couldn't keep track from day to day what was happening. So I started taking daily notes so I could
Mm,
just remember what's happening. And uh, it was, I was surprised. It was about 3 years of notes that I
wow.
found. And not easy reading.
No.
And I remember that feeling of um, either in crisis or waiting for crisis, or or not knowing what was going on with her. I mean, they described me as supporting her and being a big part of her getting better, but I also think I was, a trigger for her, and someone she had to get away from for a while in order to get better, because there was a great deal of dependence, in the early stages. They were always on the phone to me, 24 hours asking advice, asking for support. I spent hours trying, and this was beginning of COVID too.
Mm,
So very hard to get the social support and the activities that would have that she was already starting to do, and then all of a sudden one morning they disappeared. It was really pretty awful.
absolutely. So this, you're kind of journaling about this process started early COVID, or did it start before that?
Before COVID, right?
Okay.
Right, a little bit before, yeah.
And when did you notice signs of mental illness in Bella? From like a really young age or kind of in that 20s period?
I mean, I've thought about that for a while. I didn't see anything in them early. I mean, if anything, I realized she was always much less emotional than her sister. They were almost always less emotional. You know,
Interesting.
her sister was the one that would cry. They were the one that would not cry. And in that way, she was probably, they were probably more like me. I kind of, for me, I don't express emotions easily. That was not how I grew up, and that was not, and I, but when I got emotional, it was off the top. It was over the top. So very similar. Doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. Um, so, so I don't think I didn't really notice any. They had a couple of depressive periods in undergraduate school, and I didn't think of them as they handled them very well. I mean, they got help, and
Hmm.
uh, so it wasn't out of control. Like I think a lot of work pressure kind of uh, precipitated you know, the emotion dysregulation. And I think I was not aware of it really at first. I think her father was more aware of it.
Cheryl, you talked about this kind of constant either being in crisis or anticipating a crisis, or maybe, I mean, I'll add this last statement, maybe trying to kind of clean up from a crisis, maybe those three stages. How did that affect you as a parent?
I'm hesitating because it affected me tremendously. I don't know if it was affecting me as a parent. I
As a
mean, it
human?
was as a human, it was sort of all encompassing, taking, over my days. I was, lucky in a way that I was on leave from my academic position at the time, so I didn't have work, but I remember, I was doing a few things, and I always expected, that if I went to get my hair cut, I would expect my haircut to be interrupted, and it was.
Mm,
And if I went if I planned to go to shopping to buy some plants for gardening, I couldn't count on being able to do that. I couldn't plan anything really. Uh, and without and I'm a big planner, so and I'm
me
kind
too.
of a control freak, so that was very hard for me. Just a constant worry, I think. And of course, I didn't really understand what was going on until I got involved in family connections.
Yeah, I mean, I think that understanding is such a big part of it. So I guess did both of you know what BPD was when you were diagnosed originally?
My knowledge of it was from one of my best friend from undergrad. Her sister had a BPD diagnosis, and in that kind of year before I went on leave, she actually committed suicide. So
Mm,
my knowledge of BPD was very connected to suicidal ideation and
yeah.
action, um, and also very critical. I think there was a level of like I sympathized too much with her story, and if you go down the rabbit hole, which I don't really recommend, of like Googling BPD,
Yeah, not good.
and no, it's not good anywhere. Like the
No.
like not no academic thing is helpful. No, like not even kind of resources that are supposed to support folks with BPD. They're often like so hypercritical and like they paint this picture of like people with BPD are just awful liars and cheats and things like that. So it was not a good association I had, and I think it actually like amplified my feelings of kind of isolation and like being self-critical.
Yeah, it's so easy to do that when you Google it, and like, God forbid you end up on Reddit, and then
Yeah.
you're in, then it's just really bad. I mean, that's the like probably the number one purpose of this podcast, right? Is to just have a narrative that's about some of the positives and the hope. And whenever I hear people say like, I got diagnosed last week and I found your podcast, I'm like, oh, I literally can't imagine how different that must be. Because that was not my experience. I was Googling it too and being like, okay, so I'm going to die alone, get pregnant, be homeless, be on drugs.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to treat me. Nobody's going to love me. And I'm going to die anyway. So what's the point? And you're like, okay, great. This isn't helpful. Like, how am I supposed to find hope from that? Cheryl, did you know about BPD at all?
No, not really at all. I mean, I remember Googling it too, and I remember, you know, hearing that message. They're a liar. Don't believe them. They are just taking advantage of you. Don't, and that was very destructive, I think, because it sort of was trying to destroy our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I got into, family connections that I began to see that that's not true, and see a way of trying to develop some trust in her, and some and because I should say that in our family, if you ask anyone who do you want, who would you take with you on a deserted island, it would always be Bella, because Bella is the one we rely on,
Yeah.
to know what to do, and to manage things. And so this was trying to get back to that understanding of who they were was a big journey.
Yeah, and those narratives about like don't trust anything they say, they're manipulating you. Like, why? I'll never understand it. It's not helpful at all for anyone. It's not helpful for the parent because then you start questioning your reality and you're like, well, am I being manipulated? It's not helpful for the person experiencing it. It's not helpful. Like, it's wild to me that that's the narrative. And it, honestly, I think a lot of people still hold that narrative.
Well, and also I think Bella believed that
Yeah.
narrative.
Mhm.
So they were telling me, don't trust me. They were telling me I'm just manipulating you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why was that, Bella? Because you just didn't know what was going on in your head?
Because like, I mean, reading about like that is the nature of BPD that you read about. So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of gets ingrained of like, oh, if I'm asking to have my needs met,
Yeah.
then I'm being manipulative. So I had terrible insomnia and I couldn't function. I also, because I had insomnia, I was living moment to moment, so I had no working memory basically.
Yeah.
So forget about
Insomnia is
like,
wild. Like, insomnia is truly an absolutely
yeah,
fascinating thing.
yeah. But like forget about like cooking and like cleaning and like anything that a normal day-to-day like functioning human needs to do. I had like really hard time doing any of that. So if I was asking to be fed or like asking for someone
Hmm.
to like support me to like get out of the house or anything like that felt manipulative in my mind, and I thought of it that way because it's like, oh, I should be an adult. I am an adult. Why can't I do the basic functions? But at that point, like that's all I could do. Like if someone didn't feed me, then I wasn't eating that day, kind of thing.
And do you know where that insomnia stemmed from? Was it like rumination? Was it a physical issue?
No, it was more like lack of intellectual stimulation, I would say, for me. So because I wasn't at work, because I also like was isolating, wasn't seeing people, a lot of times I wasn't getting out of the house. So just not having anything to tire myself out with, it keeps
Interesting.
you up.
Wow, that
Yeah.
sounds horrible. Even like, yeah, I've had a couple instances of like longer term insomnia that's been like maybe a month. Not like
hmm
obviously straight, but like it really messes your life up.
Well, you also had tendinitis, I think, that made it difficult to sleep, right?
Tinnitus, you said?
In
Hmm.
your ear, like the like
Yeah.
ringing thing.
Yeah, I have tinnitus from that time period in one of my ears, which, yeah, I think while I was really sick did keep me up. We had,
Hmm.
I feel like we had many instances of trying to find the perfect fan. Um,
Right. Yes, just any
it's
white noise kind of situation.
yeah, because it
Yeah.
was worse when I didn't sleep. So
Hmm.
yeah,
I bet. So then, Cheryl, you found family connections how?
I think I picked up a brochure at the Access Center up at VGH.
Mm,
I'm not sure of that, but that's what I think it was.
Vancouver
Yeah,
General Hospital for people
yeah,
listening.
right.
Um, well, I'm happy they had a brochure there. Wherever they had that brochure, I'm thrilled because I know that's made a big difference in your relationship. Do you want to tell us about what going to Family Connections Sashbear was like at first?
Well, there was a big waiting list back then, so it took a
Mm,
while to get into the course. And it was, I mean, I should say I have been volunteering and been a facilitator with them for the last 5 years, so it's a continuing journey for me and a continuing, I understand it much better than when I went through it the first time. But there was some basic information about what BPD was that I could rely on and understand, and of course see other family members in the group and get a sense of there was, I wasn't alone. I certainly felt terribly alone
hmm.
uh, before that. Just learning some ways of, well, some ways of understanding emotion dysregulation, some ways of managing emotion dysregulation, some ways of uh, supporting without taking over. I mean, I know from the years that I've interacted with other family members that this tendency to be pushed out of your loved one's life is not unusual. It was really hard for me, but I came to understand that it wasn't about me. It was what they needed, and so instead of trying to push back in, uh, I I uh, I just learned how to cope with it
Right, cope with your
and
own
to
side of it.
write my own loneliness from her,
Hmm.
so.
Did How did that change the relationship? Did you notice anything, Bella, when your mom started going to Sashbear?
I was quite out of it
Yeah,
when
fair.
I think when she first joined. I remember like bits and pieces. So I remember like some of the things around like validating. Um, Now that I retroactively think about it, like how she was kind of validating my feelings. I remember also she also got a lot better at um, drawing boundaries. Like so, for example, our relationship was really strained for a while, like she said, because I would call her at any time of day and like need validation and support to like make the simplest of decisions, like should I go for a walk outside?
Hmm.
Um, and so she learned how to like set boundaries around that. And I used to call and like it would often escalate to like threats of self harm. And so kind of she learned how to um like we would I think we would like prepare for that. Like we had discussion before of like it's not helpful when it escalates and we both stay on the phone and it gets worse. So like we know that we can hang up the phone and that I will be trusted to do something, and then I think there was like an expectation that I would check in like later that night or something like that to make sure everything was okay. Um, yeah, so I think like the boundaries and the validating feelings is a
Mm-hmm.
big change for me.
Because
What I
did you live
remember
together?
is, okay,
Sorry, did you guys live together at the time?
off and on.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Like a
Yeah.
lot of BPD relationships. Yeah.
Originally not.
Yeah.
And at some point, I think there were 2 periods where you lived with us, Bella.
Yeah, I think that.
One time in 2 different rooms. So the first time was really bad, and the second time was part of your process of kind of getting, getting back on your feet, I think.
Mhm.
Uh,
Sorry, Cheryl, I cut you off. You said what you remember is.
well, so the pattern we fell into, because they were living originally in a studio apartment on their own, which was like the worst thing for her, is that they would call, and if they were escalating and talking self-harm, we would go over. And of course, if we went over, things got worse. Things got, escalation continued. So it wasn't a great solution, but I couldn't, I couldn't not go over, my husband and I, because I couldn't not take seriously the suicidal threats. So,
And you care.
and right, so I mean, they started to understand that, and we kind of came to a thing where if they could tell me on the phone, we would literally be in the car driving there, and I said, I would say, we're coming over, unless you can tell me you're safe. And they would say, I'm safe, and then we would,
Turn around.
it was hard, but we didn't go,
Yeah.
and that became kind of the agreement we had. And I don't know if you even remember that, Bella, but that's how it worked for us.
Yeah, like you say it now, and I remember bits of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was giving you the respect and
Hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
trusting you, and yeah.
I feel like boundaries are so hard, especially like this parent-child relationship, because the parents care so much, and the child, obviously you were an adult, but I'm going to call you the child in this context, is like not necessarily in the right mind to understand boundaries, but at the same time, the parents don't necessarily want to create them because they don't want it to be the one time that they created a boundary, something horrible happened. And then, but at the same time, I feel like most of the time, once we're kind of on the other side of this, what I hear from the parents and the children is that like the boundary was super beneficial. It's just really scary to set. Is that your experience as well?
Yeah, because the stakes are pretty high, right? So I think Bella had to get to a certain, I mean, she was in therapy. They knew that what they were trying to do. And I don't know that bargain would have worked earlier, way earlier, because they weren't in a position to be trusted with their own safety early on, right? I think that was one of one of your achievements, Bella, to get to that point.
Mm.
And what kind of care did you receive, Bella? Like, obviously, your mom went to Sashbear and like learned a lot of the skills, but what did you go through? DBT, meds,
Everything.
everything?
I went through 3 therapists within like a space of a year, I think. The final one was like the two first were CBT, and then the last one was DBT, and he's the one that got me back to work. I went through a lot of medication. I don't even remember. Most of it, I think, was like sleep related.
Mm.
I know I was on antidepressants, but I have like no memory of or very
Any
little
of that.
memory of medication management related to antidepressants. It was always the like main issue in my brain was sleep.
Yeah. Well, and if you can't sleep, you can't do anything else, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you don't have the memory to even learn skills to try and make your life better if your brain doesn't work.
Yeah. And then I also did like a brief period of group DBT, but I was not, I would say, not functioning enough to
Mm.
You
get
hated
anything.
that. You hated that.
Yeah, I was upset by it.
Honestly, I've found there's no in between for group DBT. You either love it, like I loved it, or you hate it. And there's nobody that's like, yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
So, what does life look like for you now, Bella?
I mean, since then, I got back to work. I decided to go quit my job, go travel, go go to start and finish grad school, and now I work in kind of like the youth mental health sector, sort of in project management, I'll call it. Yeah, I don't. Life is good now. I live with my partner and have been for about a year, and things are pretty stable. Like I have regular therapy every couple weeks. And I do the things that make me happy and cultivate that. So a lot of that's like physical exercise for me and cooking and seeing people.
Just
Life's
like the
pretty good.
exact opposite of the things you physically couldn't bring yourself to do not that long ago, right? Like just, 5-6 years ago. Well, that's awesome. I know you said when we started, like, I don't think I meet the diagnostic criteria. I was like, yeah, great. That's kind of the goal, right?
Yeah.
Like, if life was worse than it was then, I would be really like worried for you. But it sounds like things are in a pretty good place.
Mm-hmm.
And Cheryl, do you find this a sense of relief to be like, okay, at least like things are kind of calmer now?
Oh, night and day. I mean, there's no comparison in terms of. I mean, if I haven't heard from them in about 3 days, I start to worry. And we've never talked about this, but I know that they know that, and they get in touch. They send me some little message or whatever. So and that's not something I can control. That's just my, you know, uh, I'm so proud of what you've accomplished, what they've accomplished, and I know, and I rely on them a lot too. What I have, um, you know, facilitating for Sashbear and interacting with them has made me better understand my own issues with handling emotions and expressing emotions, and realize, I mean, I don't think about myself as at fault for, what happened, but I think it wasn't healthy, so I feel healthier that way now.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't not have gone through all of that, because I think we're much closer, and we're much healthier, and we wouldn't be here like that without having gone through hell and back, right?
I said this, I recorded with another family earlier today, and this series is actually really hard for me to do, to be honest, because I couldn't have this conversation with my mother. No chance in hell could I have this conversation with my mother. And so, it's a super emotional miniseries to do because of that reason. And I get to see families like you who have come through the other side stronger than you were initially. And I'm just so happy for all of you, and so sad for me, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, without these conversations, I think families don't recognize that, you can walk through these things, like you can walk through the fire, and you can learn the skills that both of you needed to be able to maintain this relationship, and grow it in a way that's like, yeah, again, like I say often, unfortunately, we can't make other people do what we want them to do, which is super annoying, and I really wish we could. But part of it is like learning what your space is in this and like what you can and can't control. And at the end of the day, like we're responsible for our own emotions, and we can ask other people for things, but we can't force them to give them to us, and we can't force them to feel a certain way. And so I love that it's like, Cheryl, it's clear that Family Connections has really shown you like this is how you guys call it, boundaries or limit setting, or
Um,
both.
both, yeah.
Okay. So boundaries, limit setting, and then this like concept of like what I'm responsible for versus what you're responsible for is clearly, it's come up many times in this conversation. Something that's really kind of, yeah, come to the forefront for you. So what do you two wish that you knew earlier on in this journey that would have made this whole thing easier?
It's a big question.
It is.
Um, you want to go first?
It's a hard question for me. I don't know if it could have been easier. Um, I mean, I mean, the help I got in understanding came pretty early,
Yeah.
so it wasn't like I was, that we were years without that help.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would. We also have a family doctor who was really helpful. I mean, he was Bella's doctor as well, so he knew what uh, they were going through. So confidentially, he couldn't tell us
Right, of course.
anything,
But
but
you,
we
it's like a
could
whole
tell
picture.
him. We could
Yes.
tell him what was going on and what we were seeing,
Mm-hmm.
and then he could talk to you, talk to Bella.
And that's a
Uh,
super important thing for families to know, right? Like you can tell their provider information that they may not have. You're not going to get anything back, but at least then they have additional information.
yeah, yeah.
Not everybody knows
So
that.
not being alone. I mean, you know, the things I learned that helped is, it's not about me. It's not, if they can't see you or they can't deal with you or you're a trigger, it's not you,
Mm-hmm.
it's them. Where they are, what they're going through. So, I had to learn that, and I had to learn, of course, that I couldn't control it, like you said. I couldn't fix it, and also that there was hope. Yeah.
Bella, how about you?
I mean, mine's more like taking kind of family out of the picture for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Mine would be kind of more around like understanding like that I could talk to my work about being overworked.
Yeah.
Um, I think that is like something a lot of people in their like mid 20s, let's say, when they're first working like a corporate job, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
need to learn. And it's important to be able to like manage up and to understand your boundaries and the priorities and things like that at your work. Um, so I
Totally.
think at the time I had like just because of the social activities I was involved in, because my job, I was the youngest person like at my work, for example, by at least 5 years. So naturally my friend group was a lot older than me.
Mm.
And I didn't realize like how much I needed to have people like my age around just to like talk about life.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're with people who are like way older than you or way younger than you, they have different issues and different things. So I think through the year and a half, I made some friends in weird places, like one through Facebook, one I met on a bus, and like they're still like my best friends to this
I
day.
love that. That's
So
so cool.
yeah, I think those were some things that I just like didn't realize in my mid 20s. I wish I had known.
Yeah. I mean, the social isolation piece is massive. And then we add COVID to it, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
you were what, mid to late 20s? You're a year younger than me. So, yeah, mid to late 20s when like the whole world crumbles and
Hmm.
all of our mental health probably took a bit of a step down for a sec there. And the work thing is so true. Like, totally not family related, but like, man, you at the end of the day, we are all just little pegs in a machine. And like,
Yeah.
like, I love my job, but like, you know, if you quit, you're going to get replaced.
Right.
You're like, and it sounds so like cynical to be like, you're not that special. But like, I used to like work my ass off, like work constantly, overwork myself, set other people up that would eventually take my jobs over with failure because I was doing way more than I should have ever been doing. And then you burn out and realize, oh, like nobody cares. It was just a job. Like now that I'm gone, somebody else will do it. And
Yeah.
it's like a sad reality, but it's something that I also wish I knew earlier on, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like freeing too, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if all of your self-worth is tied up in the job you're doing, like you doesn't leave a lot of room for all the other great things. So I work is like so I don't want to say it's like minimal in my brain now because it definitely takes up a good chunk of my like mental capacity. But like the most important things in my life by far are not work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
Um, so let's say somebody comes up to you on a bus. We'll use the bus example and says like, "Hey, my family member just got diagnosed with BPD. What would you say?" Maybe Cheryl, or I'll start with you. Where would you send them first?
Well, I would send them to Family Connections, I guess.
Surprise, surprise. No.
I mean, I actually have a good friend whose son was having an issue with a colleague in the workplace and was describing it to me, and I said it sounds like borderline personality disorder because there was a lot. So we got him some information. There are lots of good videos up on the Sashbear site, even when you don't take the course. And it turned out, that was indeed what was going on, and and the colleague was able to get support through the workplace,
Mm.
through the workplace benefits. I think that's part of the worst part for families is getting access to any kind of reliable information and care. So trying to, uh, the what is it? Access and Assessment Center at the Vancouver General
Mm-hmm.
Hospital is very, it's an important resource. If you can just get in the door there with if your loved one's willing to go with you, and that can be a real resource. I think the first steps are really the hardest. Uh, in over time, you need to take care of yourself, and I don't think I was really very good at that,
Yeah.
but it is really, I you had sent questions earlier, and I
Yeah,
thought,
about
how did
taking
I
care of
do that?
yourself.
How did I
Yep.
do? And all I remember is I couldn't think straight,
Yeah.
but I could sew, and I'm a sewist, a pretty accomplished one, and I would just spend hours and hours sewing, hands, especially hand sewing, and that would a kind of and gardening, I think. So the manual things. So finding something to relieve, to your stress and to help you manage and to help you be mindful and calmer
Mm-hmm.
are important.
So important. And mindfulness takes so many forms, right? Like that hand stitching is
Right,
mindfulness. We
right,
just forget because sometimes we feel like you have to sit here like this, mindfully breathing or whatever. And
right,
that's not
right.
always the case. Like it's whatever works for you. Yeah. No, I think it's really important that we at least highlight like, wow, I really could have done a better job taking care of myself. Because if you can't take care of yourself, I mean, this is going to sound very RuPaul like, but if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of anybody else, right? Like you've got to, yeah, you're in like survival mode, but the hope is that like one day we can help people realize that like they matter too. It's not just about your kid at that moment, even if it feels that way. Bella, what would you tell someone if they just came up to you and said, my family member has BPD?
I also think like Sashbear is probably a place I would point them to.
Mm-hmm.
I think like my mom's a facilitator. I act as a lived experience speaker.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes some of the things I like talk about when people ask like, oh, what would you have done differently or like what helped you get better is like for me, it was finding really committing to one goal, and my goal was exercise. And I think it is a form of mindfulness because it was physical activity and it wasn't like too mentally straining, but it got me out of the house and got me moving and got me socializing also as well. So, like, finding the thing that makes you motivated is really important. And yeah, I set some like pretty aggressive goals for myself once I could. The winter that I was getting better, I hiked every single week with a friend, with different friends. And so that was like a pretty aggressive goal. And then the other one was like when I moved out of my parents' place the second time, I think, and moved into somewhere that felt more permanent and was with a
Mm-hmm.
roommate I liked. I wasn't even eating, but my goal was to get out of the house, and I went to the gym like every single day. And that
Helps with that
helped me.
routine too.
Yeah, it helped me like
Mm-hmm.
pick up food again and start cooking again and start being outside. And
Mm-hmm.
so finding like the thing that makes you feel good but isn't too much effort is like really important.
Mm-hmm. No matter what that is, right? Like it,
Yeah.
like I love working out too, and it makes my mental health so much better. But yeah, for some people that's just not it. And like, okay,
Yeah.
then what is? Is it Dungeons
Yeah.
and Dragons? That's all good. Do that then. That's fine. Cheryl, what do you wish clinicians knew or like understood better about families and how they can be included in care?
Hmm. We really had very little contact with clinicians. I
Mm,
mean, we would talk with, a clinician when Bella was taken into the ER. The most helpful thing I remember was the last time uh, she made a suicidal excursion onto the Lionsgate Bridge.
mm,
There were several times she did that. She was picked up and taken into North Van, and the doctor there said sometimes with age they get past it, and that
mm-hmm.
was the first time anyone ever said, maybe there is some uh, light at the end of the tunnel, and it was the last time uh,
Mm-hmm.
that she got taken in. Uh, so
And
I
what's
think,
wild is like the number of people that get through it with age is huge. Like
yeah,
80,
yeah,
90% or something ridiculous. Like it's actually shocking that we don't
yeah,
talk about that more.
yeah. And I think clinicians could, I think families are a big part of BPD. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're ever irrelevant
Mm-hmm.
uh, to either, and Bella can correct me here if I'm wrong, but it seems like that it is a situation that is a family situation.
Yeah.
So the problems are in the family and the solutions are in the family, and I think when clinicians are only treating the person that's got the diagnosis, they aren't using the full resources
Mm-hmm.
of what could be done. So it could be more of a partnership. Yeah, I mean, we probably could have met with a therapist, but we never did. The one Bella referred to earlier,
Mm-hmm.
that was a big part of her getting better. And maybe that's something I would do now that I didn't do back then. I was
Mm-hmm.
asked to do that. But I think, in a way, confidentiality rules, which I think I'm all for, but they also kind of have difficulty then dealing with families as opposed to
Yeah,
individuals.
totally. Especially because you were an adult at the time, right? It would be different, slightly different if you were like under
Right,
18,
right,
under
right.
14, whatever. Yeah. So, Bella, what gives you hope today when it comes to this kind of stuff?
I think weirdly one of the things that gives me hope is like going into back into family connections as a lived experience speaker. And obviously I'm not there during like most of the course. I'm there for like half an hour usually. But like the extent to which my story can like give people hope is quite obvious in that that half an hour period and is like the feedback I get. So I think there is a lot of hope, and you don't see it represented online, and for the most part, or within like clinical discussions as well. It's like a very villainized diagnosis. So just from myself and also from like hearing other people's stories, they're like, I didn't want to live at some, during that period.
Mm-hmm.
But like now I love my life. So I don't know. That's huge, and that's a big thing. And then the other thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is, especially in like relation to my relationship with you, mother, is I think we often like think about that like the really bad like time period that people go through, however long it might be. And then we don't consider kind of the many, many years following if someone kind of makes it through that period. And the extent to which the two of us and our family in general has like gotten closer and is able to talk about emotions and to talk about like illness and what things are bothering us and the future and all the big scary kind of things. It's exciting, and yeah, it just makes me really grateful for my family that they were there during that period, but that like my mom especially continued to learn, and the two of us continued to learn how to support each other.
Yeah, it's so easy to stay stuck in that bad period and forget that things have moved forward. So that's a great answer. Cheryl, how about you? What gives you hope?
Well, my last family connections for this period was last night. And Bella, they talked about you and the importance that was in seeing hope. And so, for me, it was an extraordinary group that we were dealing with, and seeing, I mean, it's not possible, I think, to deal with a loved one with borderline personality disorder successfully without fundamentally changing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I mean, the doing business as usual is failing. I mean, that's what got you there, got your loved one there. So something has to change, and it's so gratifying to see that capacity for change and growth in others, and I mean, I'm honestly honored that people will let me into their lives a little bit, and let me see that change in them. So that gives me a lot of hope.
So well said. Thanks, Cheryl. And Cheryl, what do you love most about Bella?
They are, well, you use your term, they are super feelers. The amount of empathy they have for other people is just off the charts. And that has always been the case. And I love that for her. And she's very intelligent, and she is a planner like I am, so we share that.
The project manager in you.
Yeah,
runs deep.
right. So, and they're courageous. They got through it, and it was their determination and courage that got them through it.
And stubbornness.
They're stubborn, yeah.
That is a BPD trait that is both a positive and a negative.
Right.
But it is what gets us most of the way through all these things, for sure. Well, thank you both so much. I know Cheryl and Bella won't be at the BPD walk in Burnaby this year on May 9th, but I'll be there. I'll be the MC. There will be a whole bunch of other inspiring stories to hear from. And it's, Burnaby, May 9th. You can help support Sashbear. I'll put links in the chat for everything we talked about. So like the Family Connections program, the walk. And then Bella, you're going to be speaking at the Toronto walk. And what day is that? Toronto is May 24th. Sunday, May 24th is Toronto. You can hear Bella speak. Yeah. And then mine's Saturday, May 9th in Burnaby.
Yeah. And also, my mom and I are also doing a conference panel.
Oh, for the NASSPD?
Yeah.
Ooh, amazing. Oh, that's so cool. I wish I was going. I feel like everybody I know is going.
Yeah, on the 24th, I guess, in the morning, the Friday morning.
This month.
This month, yeah, April.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's not virtual, is it?
Uh,
I don't
we are
think
not
so.
virtual. I don't know
Okay.
if they are. If they're
Well, I know
Yeah.
a lot of my friends and listeners are going to that conference. So if will this come
say
out
hi.
before then? Yes, come say hi if this comes out before then, and if not,
Yeah.
you'll be
yeah,
like, oh my
so
God,
I think
knew them.
our panel is Saturday morning at 9:30 or something.
Friday
like that.
morning,
Yeah,
the first
Friday
day.
morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I really wish I was going. I like thought about it and it was just too much. I can't take on another thing right now, but you're gonna have so much fun. Everybody that I know that's going is spectacular, so I'm so glad you'll be there.
No, that'd be.
Yeah.
To hear.
Awesome. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. I just feel like I really appreciate you both coming on, and these stories of a family that can get through this in a good way is what gives me hope, and a lot of sadness, but hope mostly. So I appreciate you both so much, and it's really nice to see you again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Too. Thanks.